Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Time for Coffee with PC this week. I've got my cup of coffee out here, outside actually on the playground. You may hear some background noise. That's because some of our daycare kids are out here playing as well, enjoying the day as I am enjoying my cup of coffee. A little double still, that big 5-pound bag, lasting quite a while. And of course got the thing I can put on my desk to keep it warm the whole time. Always appreciate a hot cup of coffee. I hope you do too. Whatever your go-to drink is this mid-morning, hope you're enjoying it. Hope your week is going well. Can you believe June the 1st? It is, well, not quite the halfway month, but not all the way through it. Through this year, the time has certainly flown. In a lot of ways, time has flown. I've been thinking about that, particularly after we come off the Memorial Day weekend. I didn't say anything over the weekend about it. Some of you may realize that. Many of you were here back then, but Memorial Day weekend is our anniversary for when we first came to this church to pastor here, Denise and the family and I. 23 years ago this year, 1999, we moved down to the Keys. So this marks 23 years we have been here at this church, and boy, it's like I said, time flies. Not just that we're in June of this year, but that it has been that long. Came here right after, well, Price celebrated, I believe, his 5th birthday here, actually the day, but we celebrated it with family and a party before we came down here. 5 years old, Caroline was just 2, and so we have been here seeing them grow up. Now they're both young adults and moving on there, so it's just remarkable to think about our time here. It has been quite remarkable. I also think about our first introduction to the Keys. You know, you have those initial meetings. If you're familiar with church kind of vernacular vocabulary, you come down for interviews, and then right before you're voted on, you preach, as we say in church world, in view of a call, which means you preach for the church family. Usually have some kind of Q&A, which we did, and then there's a vote after those instances happen. And so I remember that very well. And we had come down once to meet with the folks, then once for that sort of initial meeting with the whole church and to preach, and then we moved down here. And so our first exposure living down here in the Keys was Memorial Day weekend. And this quiet little town at that point, you know, this nice little cozy Keys, a little bit rural place, just goes crazy. Memorial Day weekend, our first weekend here, we thought, what have we gotten ourselves into? Of course, Memorial Day and some of those holidays are always pretty busy down here. We're kind of used to that rhythm, but at the time, it was a shock to the system. But we, 23 years later, here we are, another Memorial Day that has come and gone. And it has been a great thing. It reminded me as well, a couple weekends ago, when I got up early, I was sitting around in the living room and heard in the distance a bit of a commotion. I heard it was early. I mean, sun hadn't even come up yet. There was horns honking and I could hear like people yelling. I didn't know what was going on there. And I was sitting there thinking, right, so I kind of looked outside. I walked outside. I could hear it from inside the house. And yep, it was even a little bit louder when I went out on the porch and tried to look. I didn't see anything. So it was kind of at a distance. So didn't think much of it until not too long after that, just, I don't know, a few minutes later, I noticed some more commotion. The traffic sort of picked up, and I looked again, and I saw on the far side of the highway there some people running. And I remembered this was the Keys 100 weekend was that weekend. That's the commotion I heard. They get started up at the Office Depot parking lot, so about a half mile up, so I could hear all of that. And I watched them go by and thought, wow, I remember that. We have done that. I have done that quite a few times. I want to say 5, 6, 7 times maybe I've run in the Keys 100. It's a variety of races. One of the options is you can run from Key Largo to Key West by yourself, all 100 miles. And there are some that do that ultra marathon, as they're called. And I've never done that, never tried that. Don't expect I ever will, but I have done the relay portion of that, where a team of 6 runs that 100 miles. We kind of take turns running over the course of that 100 miles. And we've done that several times, like I said, 5 or 6 times, a lot of times, and most of the time, I guess every time, with people in our church. Jerry Wallace, a good friend, still miss him quite a lot since his passing. He was one that I think most of those races that I ever did, I did with him. He was always a part of it. Some of his family, we had different people from our church come in, and I have some great memories of those relay races. They are just things that stick in my mind. The first one particularly, I remember it was biting off. I was new to running. Jerry and some others that we were running with, Jack Kearns ran. He'd run marathons. They were very athletic. I was kind of new to this, but thought sounds like fun challenge to at least try. And I only had to run a couple 3 miles at a time. It wasn't like you had any super long stretches outside of the 7-mile bridge. And so we put together a team, and bright and early we're up at Office Depot, and off we went. And it was just an incredible experience. So much so that not only have I done that several times, but some of the same people that have run that have run what's called the Ragnar relay a couple of different ways. One way was they used to have a road relay that started in Miami and went to Key West. It was 200 miles. That was the group of 12 though, so it wasn't a 6-person 200-mile relay. It was a 12-person 200-mile relay. And then another one we did was called a Ragnar Trail Relay, which was up at Isle of Fire River State Park. That has a lot of mountain bike trails, and they turned them for that weekend into a trail relay. And so that was a team, I think, of 8 of us went up there. Again, several people from the church. We camped out in the park. You brought your kind of camping gear. You found your spot, and then starting sometime on, I believe it was Friday, and all through the night Friday until about midday Saturday, we took turns running through the woods on those old bike trails. Like seriously, I'm setting my alarm for 2 a.m. so I can go get up and run in the woods in the dark for 5 or 6 miles, and hopefully it'll go well. It was just a crazy thing, but as hard as it was, and I remember some of the folks that did it, I was talking about, I will never do that again when it was happening, but afterwards those same people said, yeah, I might like to do that again, because just kind of challenging yourself. But here's my point, back to that church idea and being here 23 years and these sort of things. I've said before, I think those kind of events, those running relays, we should make those the church new member class. I know not everybody's a runner and that's impractical, but here's why. Those experiences have been remarkable for the sense of camaraderie that comes out of them. That this group of people are trying something that by themselves they'd never try, that seems impossible to do, but through the encouragement that comes from other people in your relay team, through kind of that okay, come on, if you do it, I'll do it, that we're willing to jump in, and then actually in the process, it is full of that same sort of thing. I mean, there's something about, I usually run by myself. I like actually running by myself. I put on my earphones and usually play podcast, sometimes music, sometimes audio book, but mostly podcasts and that sort of thing, and just run several days a week, and I like that. But on those occasions, when we're doing that relay, I truly love the camaraderie, the team sense that comes from that. I mean, I remember my first one, it was the middle of the day, the Keys 100. It was hot, as you would expect. It's in May, so we know how hot it is in May, and we're down toward Marathon somewhere, and I'd run 3 or 4 times already, and so it's hot, middle of the day, usually run in the early morning, so I was really feeling that heat. And as I kind of came around a corner, there was one of our teammates with me, waiting for me to say, listen, it's not that far. You can do this. Let me run the rest of the way with you. And they did. They right beside me, step by step, said, it's not that far. Come on, you can do this. We're almost there. Pick up the pace. Come on. And then there you can see the van. You can see the rest of the teammates, and they're all cheering you on. I remember that so well. How that I won't say I was ready to quit, but I was ready just to sit down and say, this is hard and I'm hot and I don't want to do this anymore, until I saw that familiar face and I was able to make it that rest of the way. And that was the case for all of them. Some of those races, your teammates would pull up, maybe a mile or 2 after where you start, and as you run by, they're there, 1, cheering you on, 2, they might have a bottle of water or something to drink. They might have like a towel that had been in the cooler, so it was ice cold because it was so hot. You could drape across your neck or put over your head, or pour, wring out over your head, something just to cool you off, and then just to say, okay, I can do this, and know that it won't be that much longer. There's the van. I can see it in the distance. I can see my teammates. And as soon as you're done, you slap the bracelet on the next runner, and there they are. Say, what do you want? You want some Gatorade? You want some water? What do you need? What do you need? How can we help you? And there's that, we're in this together. It's bigger than we could do on our own. but together we can do that. And I love that atmosphere that comes out of those relays. And I think that is meant to be the atmosphere that should characterize the church. That we are in this together. We are a team, and actually that's not really so much a biblical analogy as a family. That sense of relationship, that we're in this together. We're supposed to meet together to encourage one another, especially as we see the day approaching. So that should be a normal feature of the relationships we have, that we as the Church of Jesus Christ can do more together than any of us could do by ourselves. And on top of that, you bring the presence of God's Spirit, and that just really supercharges our ability to do for God things we would never even attempt on our own. And all of the things that I saw lived out practically in those relay races, I think should characterize the church. And I've seen that, by the way, in my own life. I've been on the receiving end of that in my own life. Certainly for Denise over these last several months as she got her diagnosis and has been going through all of that, to have that church family, to have the people who care, to reach out, who call, who support, who help in practical ways, lots of ways. It's meant the world to us, and it's in that we know that we're in this, and we're not alone in this. And that's, God didn't make us to be, as some people might say or have said, Lone Ranger Christians. He made us to be interconnected. In His wisdom, gave us the church. And I'm grateful that 23 years ago, He led us down to Key Largo. He led us to this church family. I'm grateful for Ron Lentini, who was the catalyst that made that happen, who connected us to the leaders at that time, who sent our resume on and put in a good word. And here we are 23 years later, having so many relationships that still mean the world to us, so many memories, so much that we've seen God accomplish through our working together. Let me say to you, if you're out there and you don't have that kind of interconnectedness in a church, let me encourage you to find it. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you need that very thing. You were made for that very thing. In fact, you have gifts and abilities, you have a story, you have experiences that are the very encouragement that others will need, and God has gifted you by His Spirit so that you fit in. You're that puzzle piece that a church needs. If you're in Key Largo and you are part of our community here, we'd love to have you join us Sundays at 9 o'clock. As I say every week, come on, we worship together. We'll be doing that this Sunday at 9 a.m. Love to have you join us in person. We stream it as well, but if you're watching over a stream and you're not in Key Largo, I encourage you, find a church where you are. Find a group of people committed in their relationship with God through Jesus Christ that you can plug into and receive and offer the encouragement, your unique experiences that church needs. It is, as I said, life-changing, life-affirming, but ultimately it's the wisdom of God for all of us. So that's my encouragement for you this week. That's my thankfulness to you this week for 23 years of your love and support and working alongside as we continue to try to make an impact for Jesus, for the gospel of Jesus Christ here in Key Largo. So thank you for all that you mean to us as our church family. And if you don't have that church family, I encourage you, go find one. Now, I'm going to encourage you right now, though, like I'm going to do, is take my cup back into my office and finish this cup of coffee and get back to work this morning. I'm sure you have some things on your to-do list, and so I'm going to leave you with it. Again, love to have you join us on Sundays, 9 o'clock. We'll be here this Sunday continuing in the book of Acts. So until then, take care, everyone.